Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Outdoor Asylum. I've got Dusty McDaniel with me, as usual, and I've got Jake Seipert, the man behind the camera, here with us. Dusty, we were just talking about the emotional roller coaster that we've been on with the duck report getting into this season. It's like, the first report was great. We had great conditions up north, right?
Everybody started back in the spring, and everybody was excited, sharing all these posts from, the people that released the Maypond survey, and it's all the adequate snowfall and rainfall, going to be the best breeding habitat we've had in years, and ought to be one of the biggest hatches, And then last week they let out the, breeding survey, and it's like down 20% from long-term average.
Yeah.
And it's like, girl.
The problem was I let myself get optimistic because this is the first good report we've had in a while about how great everything was.
Breeding ground, yeah, because how dry it's been up there.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, we finally got some good conditions, so we're going to have a good hatch. And I was really expecting to see some good numbers, and then
and of course with COVID, that Rona, they did not do a breeding survey since 19. 20 didn't have one, 21 didn't have one. So there's 2 years in there that you really. You know what happened because of weather, but you don't know really the numbers out of it. So that report even had a blurb in there about although the grounds were great, the hatch was miscued, or you kind of read that the data's not really right because there was droughts the 2 years before that aren't accounted. So the 20% down from long term, is that actually equal to last year? And last year and the year before were 10% each. We don't know because those 2 years are out.
Or was it scattered out, spread out between those years?
But long-term average, we're down. And
if
you go back and look at, a lot of people say the last couple years, seasons where ducks got truly thick in Arkansas would be 2010, 2011, 2012, right in there. The surveys then had 40 million total ducks and 11, 12 being mallards. And then you're down to, 7 this year, Jake? 7, 8, something like that.
I don't remember the number.
Count.
Was it like a 28% or something?
It's low 20% drop.
Lowest in 20 years.
Lowest in 20 years,
okay.
yeah. That's the Eastern. So if Jake's looking at it right now, but it was down. I mean, you're talking about, you were at 12-ish million 10 years ago, is the breeding survey estimated for mallards, and this year we're at
mallards down 23% from
2019. 23%. What's the number in red there?
72, 23 from 2022.
So that's 7.2 million down from over 10.
It's a lot of birds.
That's a lot. And you figure Arkansas claims to kill how many mallards a year?
Claims or actually does.
Yeah. But, I mean, you figure if it's 400-ish thousand, the number that normally gets thrown around, and then we're down 3 million. I mean, you do the math on that, and that's like us going 5, 6, 7, almost 8 years without killing a duck to replenish that.
Yeah.
And so
How have the pintail number – pintail's down 21% since 2019, and we're still only shooting one pintail? I mean –
none of that –
you have to go to zero?
The limits, so, like Jake's talking about, the limits is we still have these liberal limits, which I get the political reason of why. People don't want to hunt when you can't go kill but one. The point system almost killed duck hunting. A lot of people talk about it. Between it and the lead to steel shot whole thing back then, it did. People didn't like it. But when a duck, on average, is 5 to 7 years, a mallard duck's life, breeding is probably 5 at best, 3 solid years for sure he breeds. You go 3 bad hatches in a row, you can decimate your population. Look at the turkeys in Arkansas, same thing. 3 bad hatches and you're out.
Yeah.
But we're still allowed to shoot that many. Now, yes, some are going to die every year. Yes, you're going to, but when you're having bad hatches and less are coming down, yet you're claiming to kill the same number, less are going back, and this is the cycle you get into.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't mean to shed doubt on the actual count numbers. I bet they're pretty accurate, but in Arkansas, we tend to stretch the truth a little bit about what we might kill.
People fill out their hip every year. How many did you kill last year? Oh, I killed 387, all public land, one hunt. The
only thing that is going to be true is how many rails did you kill? Because we don't even know what a rail is, but apparently it's on the hip card.
Jake got one snipe last year. One snipe.
One snipe. Yeah, I always got tempted. I always got people wanting to take me snipe hunting, but I figured that out pretty soon. That
When they showed up with a bunch of hefty trash bags, I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah, yeah. There's some kind of a con game going on here for sure. But
you wonder how all states are going to be affected.
Yeah,
because Arkansas actually does have a conservative mallard limit. We're one of the only ones. It's 4. 2 can be hens. A lot of people wish they'd back that to 1 hen. But I know last year we noticed in January when you saw courtship flights, you would see 5, 6, 7 greenheads in 1 hen. So, there is a true big unbalance.
I noticed the courtship flights more last year than I'd ever really noticed them before. And I think that was it, that you had such big groups chasing that 1 hen that it became so apparent of what was going on, But I never noticed them to that degree that I did last season, watching those strange flights going through the timber.
Well, and if you want it the courtship flight, when you're hunting in January, when ducks start trying to pair up, and you got a group of mallards 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're acting like teal. That first duck that is normally a hen, and she's cutting, diving, flipping back. I mean, Top Gun 101, and every mallard behind her's trying to stay with it. That's a courtship flight. They're trying to see who can beat out who to stay with her. And so we start noticing that, and you'd pull up and you'd be scouting, and you'd pull up on an oxbow or slough, whatever. You'd see a handful of ducks out there swimming. There was times we saw 7, 8 greenheads, 1 hen in the middle, poor old hen. But is that because of the population? Is it because of the amount of hens that can be killed? You go up north, the northern states in Canada, it's 5, 6 duck limit. And they're killing 3 hens, half and half.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a bad thing, because the amount of ducks they kill compared to the amount we kill, we get the proportion of the limits and all is how it works. But at some point you got to say, hey, we might need to step back for 3 or 4 years on a limit for everybody just to do some replenishing. Arkansas did it with deer. They're trying to do it with turkey now. And
wonder how many years it would excuse me, I wonder how many years it would take to replenish. I mean, I know we don't have a firm answer for that, but I mean,
factor is
what
it's
would it
got to
take?
coincide with the hatch. So what's funny is you could make an opinion right here. You could make an opinion to say you could correlate this to the timber management program. We want to have new trees regrow.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to flood a certain WMA for a year, then a quarter flooding, then a half flooding to let the new ones grow up. So it's the same principle, though. Inside that management plan, there was an asterisk that said, if this naturally floods, we don't count that year, so we stay on our program.
Yeah.
So you say, hey, for 3 years, we're going to try a lesser limit because that's the average time of a juvenile to become to reproductive age, whatever it is. I don't know. But the whole point of it is, if you have a year where there was a bad hatch, do you count that year? Because you're not getting optimal conditions in your equation of this.
Yeah.
But this is the thing that people, and we could use this to shed light. This is what your Fish and Wildlife and Game and Fish Commissions and, Heritage Park, this is what they have to deal with, is you see them saying, why are you doing that? Because they're not only trying to do the right thing, but they've got to work with what Mother Nature gives them. And even though it's a 5-year plan, that was 5 crappy years from Mother Nature. It really did them no good.
Right.
And so, no water. A no water year when ducks are congregated when they come down, especially juveniles, the young new ducks who are dumb, and they come straight to a call. They're, just like young turkeys. That's why you can't kill a jake,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to kill them. The population would be gone because there's nothing there to replenish it. So that's a whole nother realm of, if we keep having bad hatches or something like that, what's it going to be like?
Yeah.
Another good hatch next year, and it may be up 20%.
Yeah. I wonder if the average hunter, what would he rather do, he or she? Would you rather go fewer birds in the limit, or would you want to cut down the number of days? I wonder what most people would go for.
I honestly figure most people would probably settle for 1 bird or less. And honestly, if it truly is a ratio, you just need to really take out the hen killing. I mean, in a sense, if you think about it, you want to take out the hen killing to an extent.
Yeah.
Because there's always and seems to be enough drakes.
You get into that argument. it's kind of a can of worms getting opened here because I hear a lot of people arguing about this. Oh, it doesn't, doesn't really help that much if you're picking out hens versus drakes and that type of thing. But to me, I've always thought that let's leave those hens. It just makes sense to me. And I've heard the arguments, both ways about if you've got this certain number of birds and you're killing this percentage. But I don't know. I like the idea of just let these hens go. Like you said, if we're seeing this few, if we're seeing this type of a concentration, I'd love to see some official counts if we could get them of the drakes versus hens once they're making it down this far, to know how much do we need to maybe limit the killing of the hen.
Well, and you look at, and so private club management, when you go back over the history of duck hunting, private club management, and I'm talking about going all the way back to the days of the big wing meads, these first major established clubs, they did that on their own. Mm-hmm. Greenbrier, which was Olin, Winchester, huge conservationist and all that, they did that kind of stuff. You didn't shoot a hen.
Yeah.
If you did, you got shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reason they did that is they had factored that. They knew to keep this resource, you had to keep the reproduction up. Mm-hmm. And I understand too, some hens are going to die.
Sure.
From old age. You want to take some out the population. You can't have free for all. But when you can go half and half, and you have new hunters that maybe don't understand the conservation aspect of it or how it works, or even people who just don't care, or you get I want my kill pick, I'm going to shoot whatever comes in. When you start factoring these things together, you're getting a lot of hens killed. And like we said, there is some people that say that honestly has nothing to do with the population.
Yeah.
I find that it's not factored in somehow. Maybe it's not as big as percentage as a lot of people, including myself, think, but it is a factor. It has to be.
I would think so. And like, I know, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with me today. But like, it was so ingrained in me, and I'm sure you, that we don't shoot hens, And if you did kill a hen, you got ridiculed a little bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't shot, but it's like, you don't want to be labeled the hen killer or the egg layer slayer of the group. You're not going to be that. You don't be that guy.
Like that.
But I know that when the one time that I've gone up to Canada, I've really only done it one time. We went up and we hunted early season. We're up there early September. It really bothered me.
You can't tell.
You can't tell very well. I mean, once you shoot them, you can tell. Occasionally you'll see it in the air and you'll be able to recognize some color change to know that you're shooting a drake. But there are a lot of times I was pulling the trigger and I really didn't know, am I killing a hen or a drake here? And that bothered me. In fact, it kind of took away from the enjoyment from me. I don't like that. So, I know up north, they have a lot more trouble distinguishing. So I don't know.
Well, and really the only way to tell during true molt back season, whatever, is the beaks. Most of the time is the beaks, drake's yellow, hen's orange, black. And so, but like you said, you also factor in, we've done this a lot and you don't realize it, is that crisp of daylight shooting hour time. When ducks are black silhouettes coming in and you can't pick out. And
right.
I'm used to hunt with a lot of guys that they didn't like shooting that.
Yeah.
They didn't shoot ducks till it got a little lighter up and they could tell what was what. Of course, duck hunting was different back then. You seemed to have more midday ducks you worked and killed and all that. And, and that you don't hunt past 9 or 10 o'clock, so they're not pressured. And this is all death by 1,000 cuts more than likely, but yeah, the numbers was disappointing. There was a lot of people had gotten excited. A lot of people that have a following in this industry. Mm-hmm. I know clubs, companies were sharing the Maypong report. Man, this is great. Then I think 2 weeks before the report just came out, the almanac, above average snowfall, and everybody's like, here we go,
yeah,
because that's a chunk, millions of ducks left.
Oh yeah.
That's a chunk. It was even down like 20%, long term. It was down a bunch of percent from 2019 when they did it. So you lost $1 million just from that.
Yeah.
And that's a big chunk.
I don't know.
Gadwalls are up. Gray ducks
gadwalls. Gadwalls are the craziest thing because when I was young, we didn't see that many gadwalls. And I remember even DU having a story back, early 2000s about the amazing gadwall that had, the numbers had just come back and we were seeing so many gadwall, wondering what happened. How did they boom like this? I don't know.
And it's weird because there's some places you go that's like people kill 30 gadwall limits of them. Like there was a place I hunted in college off the Arkansas River, an old Cypress Break, where you could buy your watch. You could go in there at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and about 9 o'clock, you could kill 5-6 limits of gadwalls. They were coming in off the river and swamps and bayous off there. But like over here in places, you either kill them or you don't even see them. Mm-hmm. You know, we kill up 4 or 5 a year, and we think, oh, it's cool to kill a couple gadwalls. Or do you see them? They were gadwalls. Or you might hear them flying over, you know, mm-hmm. but a little dee-dee. But
a little beeping.
Yeah, you know, but that's it. And like you said, now they're claiming they've gone up a huge percentage this year. And so
that makes sense. If they're all breeding, I'm guessing gadwalls breeding pretty much the same place.
Yeah, I think everybody gets back to the kind of the fertile crescent of the breeding ground up there in the central deal, you know, across the top. And so, you know, right above North Dakota, kind of over to Minnesota, where that drop down is and all that, all those lakes and rivers that start up there, that's the May Pond area. And it's like they're all coming from there pretty much. And so, but it's also alarming that everyone was down. Eastern Flyway had lower numbers on its report. Western did.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things I don't want to – I would rather it be drastic up front than to we're in a bind. Like, let's look at the timber deal. I would rather you say, hey, after this season, we need to cut the limit by 1 duck for 3 years.
Yeah.
To try. Instead of going, we're going to have to cut it to 2 because we waited too long.
Right.
Like, what would you rather have? Because that's a situation we're seeing with the timber management. Mm-hmm. We went too long. We had too many years we didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
And now we're having to drastically fix it compared to could we had just, hey, this year we're going to cut this one. Sorry, it's out of play. But that's 1 year, not 5 or 6 in a row. And so I guess that's just, you know, that's your – whatever you think is right or wrong, but at the end of it, this is still a management thing. And we've had a lot of years of really good, easy, and we're starting to come into a lean cycle, but it repeats itself. It's been that way before.
How much of it is, I guess the states control so much of what they're...
Well, so the way it's set, my understanding is under Fish and Wildlife is they set a flyway limit, and then the states cannot go above that, just like your dates. You basically can't start migratory bird before X date. You can't go past X date. That's why I was like, why don't we get to hunt in February? Fish and Wildlife says you cannot go past January 31st. You can stop before then, but you can't go past that.
I'm guessing Central and Mississippi have to be the same.
Pretty much the same from my understanding.
Yeah, they cross. So.
Yeah. And so, but like it's like a 6 duck limit with mallards being all 6. Some states have it all 6. I think it's North Dakota, South Dakota have 6 or 5. Kansas has a 5. Oklahoma has a 5, right? Something like that.
Something like that.
And Arkansas is at 4.
And California's what, 8? 8 duck?
Is it 8? They were 8 with 7, something like that.
They were somewhere there at one time.
It's pretty big. But I think the reason for that is that's really all they shoot over there. It's pretty much they don't have the. We call them trash duck. They don't have the other species of duck we have over here. Pintails, widgeons, teal, gadwall, wood duck. You know, you start adding in your puddle ducks that we even get here. And people kill a lot of shovelers and, you know, Hollywood and all this fun stuff. But it is weird, like you said, how they mix that. But that's all from Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah.
And the state can go up to that point, but they can't go over it. So some of them are liberal on it. Some of them are more conservative. Arkansas is one of the more conservatives. So if every other state went to Arkansas's 4 duck, and if Arkansas said, hey, we'll go to 1 hen instead of 2, what would that change? Would it help?
I didn't even look at did you see any reports on spec numbers? Because, you know, we've been talking in Arkansas for a long time. We've got so many specs. We've been wanting to see a limit come up.
I have not seen any goose number.
I don't
see them added. They're not on the breeding deal. This is strictly, you know, comes out a lot of times you see it from Ducks Unlimited does it mainly and everybody else shares it, but I don't see that type of stuff. So
yeah, I'm not sure either on goose, but I'd like to see that. At least for us on specs anyway, I would love to see that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see, and a lot of that too is what people call is that the population taking off? Yes, there's evidence to show that, but how much of that is like people in Louisiana talking about the last 20 years they haven't seen, you know. Specs are leaving them, staying more up here. So is it shift? Is it that? So
yeah.
But see, with the specs, most people think a lot of this is short stopping is that term, but how much is the population actually growing? We know it's blown up. We know there's been some growth. But how much is it they're just not going all the way to Louisiana and more specs are staying here? Same way with ducks that people claim that have done. Like I said, again, this is what you hear, rumors and opinions, but maybe that's an effect on the population stuff too. You know, ducks that stay in Oklahoma don't come down the Arkansas River and, to buy meat in places like that, or like you said with the spec thing. But I would love to see the same report for specs, because you can compare it, because visually we see more specs than we do ducks as far as how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to see. And I know it's so funny to me how, it's like you talk sometimes about, maybe the flyway's not shifting, maybe everything's just stopping short of getting to us. Very possible, because Louisiana used to be the hotbed for specs that Stuttgart is right now.
And again, the flyway is shifting. Ducks fly rivers. Rivers don't move, not in our lifetime, so to speak. So if they're flying the same river, there's more ducks in Oklahoma than there used to be. Is there, or are they just not finishing to Arkansas and they're staying up there now? I mean, that's this is like the climate change thing. I mean, it really is. Is it truly that the climate is changing, or is it that we're just in the middle of cycles, stuff's moving, how this works, how that works? And so overall, I don't necessarily see a shift in the flyway. I see that ducks are staying in more places than they used to. I see ducks come all the way down, they go back up, nothing pushes them back down. Or they get down here, dry early, we don't have any food, so they go back up till they find some, stuff like that. But ducks fly rivers. We know this.
Yeah.
And so
that's one of the things that makes Stuttgart so special, that funnel that those rivers create there. Well, you got Arkansas and you got Mississippi coming in there close, and these rivers coming in
20 minutes south of Stuttgart is the Arkansas River. Everything that comes down it out of Oklahoma. 20 minutes east of it is where the Cache and meets the White, also Bayou DeView flyways right there at Clarendon. So Stuttgart is, in a sense, 20 minutes from 3 or 4 major thoroughfares, not to mention the Mississippi flyway, which it's an hour,
which converges.
Hour and a half from. It's all
Mississippi and Central converge right there, and you factor in the farmland. I mean, that's as thick of farmland as you got in the old state of Arkansas, or maybe even the south right there around Stuttgart. So. And
the agricultural practice of not much grain being left and spilt, where maybe places like Oklahoma, they're farming for ducks, that fancy term everybody likes to use, hot cropping and all that. And death by 1,000 cuts, we've said it before. And so this season outlook for that, the survey did not help. It did not get everybody as excited as everybody was waiting for a good thing.
Yeah.
And then the current water conditions were a dry summer, allowed the lakes to get down the level. And
some of the best seasons, though, you really can't tell, I don't think, on how's your personal season going to go. You can't tell by those counts, because, man, sometimes when everyone was depressed in the past years, like, oh, man, the hatch was bad or whatever, were the years that, man, we just had a great duck season. Now, we need to be thinking about the big picture. It needs to always make every hunter sad, no matter where you're from or how many ducks you kill or don't kill this season. The overall count needs to get our attention.
Yeah.
And we have to be good
stewards
of that.
Of our resource.
Exactly.
That's an indicator of it.
Exactly. So we do need to pay attention and be willing to be open to discussion on
preserving
do we need to do it? Yeah, preserve the resource,
yeah.
protect it. What do we need to do? Do we need to trim the season? We need to trim the bag limit, whatever we need to do. I mean, I'm always open for that discussion, because I want my grandkids to be able to shoot some mallards.
Well, and that's the whole point of it. And I think the whole point with the season, it's already a 60-day season. It's not – there is very few people that – very few that hunt 100% 60 days. There is – let's say if you put it in percentage, let's do it on the quarters. You say 25% of all duck hunters hunt 50-plus toward the 60-day. Then you bring that up. Okay, half are going to hunt half the season and hunt around 30 days. Then you hunt another percent. Like, you start playing these percentage games of who hunts what, and most people hunt a little less than half. Most duck hunters, most waterfowl stamps sold, when they surveyed them, they hunted 20-ish, maybe 30 times half the season. So lessening the season, to me, you're not getting the best benefit, where if you lessen the limit, then you have true control. No matter when or how much you go, you know what your maximum's going to be. So that in deer, 30 years ago, you had 2 tags, and most time, and you couldn't kill a doe in Arkansas unless you got a doe tag. You had to buy it. Some clubs were giving some. Like, that was a big deal. And now we get 6 tags. Why? We let the population take
they replenish.
And so. But one thing you can do for the upcoming season is that little jewel sitting in front of you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming down. We've had Dusty in the shop here the last couple of weeks, because I did not cut my teeth on a cut down call, and that is your specialty, is cut down calls. So anytime I'm working
what I like
on
to
them,
blow. I don't call it especially for anybody, but
I like having someone who this is your forte, this is your choice most times. So glad having you in the shop so you and I could work together on this a little bit. But let me tell you something, I'm excited about this little SOB right here.
yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part is even though that's what I blow. That's what I prefer to use to call ducks with. But when you hand somebody who has your knowledge in the traditional J frame and you start mixing stuff, you can play mad science with this. And that's what this little thing is.
One thing about making calls ever since I started, when I finally get a call that's right, that's dialed in, I can't put it down. I find myself just playing with it all the time, and I'll just pick it up. That's how it really got started with the Freak for us. The Freak even got its name by the fact that we couldn't, we were amazed at what it could do and said, man, we didn't call that thing the Freak. But nobody could. I knew we were onto something because everyone in the shop, no one could leave it alone.
Yeah.
Everyone was constantly picking it up and like, man, I love this thing. And that's how we got started in general, with our calls. We started with that one, and then we've had several models back. What gets me about this one, that cut down's never been. I've always liked cut downs, but it wasn't my first. It's my first experience were not cut downs. I've had to learn this style over the years, and with this thing, I can't leave it laying around. I'm constantly picking this thing up, and even Jake's in here doing video work, and I'm in there in the tuning room, and he'll pick it up. I hear him in here blowing his
thing
call
all over the shop when I come in the door.
And as soon as I hear him blowing, well, I have to grab mine, blow a little bit. We blow back and forth and kind of laugh about it, but I just can't put this thing down. It's a true cut down, 14 mil reed. We changed the airflow in here. We shortened this barrel to make it easier to blow. I think the guy that wants to learn how to blow a cut down but hadn't really got started, who needs to work on learning that air presentation, I think this is going to be a call they're going to love. And I guarantee you, I'm not going out without one of these on my lanyard this year.
And for the more experienced or has lots of air, everyday run-of-the-mill cut-down guy, this is your finesse cut-down. This is you can still blow hard. You can still pop it, bark it, all the fun terms it likes to do. But you can whine on it. You can have some back pressure. It is easier. You can get soft, quiet, clucks, and things like that. And so when people ask me, well, what do you mean when you say this is a true cut down? In the sense of the word cut down, this is a louder call. It's harder to blow. It's a bigger exhaust. It's a bigger channel. It's a bigger, thicker reed. It's a bigger gap on the tone board. All of those things that most people, associate with a cut down, this is still it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think about with cut down, long tone board, short exhaust. Like you said, wide open exhaust, and then a 14 mil reed is another thing that I think separates and makes it a true, So, and it's harder to push than like one of our regular J frames, the 10 mil reed, a Freak, a Murder, something like that. It still takes more air, and so I hope anybody that orders one understands that. But if you want to learn the cut down style, this to me is going to be the easiest. And I'm telling you, I love
the feedback the call gives you. It's so responsive. It's so, with that shorter barrel, it's so responsive. It's so there. Manipulate it. You get an initial reaction. It's not long, hard blows. You can short pops and stuff. And it's fun to blow. It's fun.
I know that we're onto something. We posted a video up yesterday about it, and I've gotten all kinds of feedback. Hopefully the viewers won't actually see the interruption, but we had to stop this podcast halfway through because we had customers coming in.
The video went up yesterday, and there's been 4 people come to the shop today specifically after that video, and everyone that's blown it is left with one.
Yeah.
And so, it's the real thing.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait for people to be using it, get the feedback throughout the year, people calling with it. And, all of our calls, actually, of course. But this being a little bit different, I'm anxious to get a little field research in with this thing.
It's been a fun project.
Yeah, but I hate it because they may outlaw them because, if the duck numbers are down bad enough now,
This is right next there with corn and yellow gold and yellow acorns, and the SOB is on that same list. You better watch out.
No doubt. Dusty, hey, thanks for coming in, doing the podcast with us again.
Enjoyed it, as always.
We'll plan another one, see what we got to talk about next time. But I've got we got dove season still coming up here. We got dove season coming up, early teals approaching. It's the time of year. It's in the air.
Here.
It's in the air.
Hopefully it's here. A little warm front right now. They say cooler rain next week, so hopefully that starts putting it in the air. Dove, teal, conservation goose, bow season, deer season, then.
Yeah, and you guys, hey, love your feedback as always. Put something in the comments. Please like and share the channel, like and share this video with some other people. Get expose other people to this this podcast. We really appreciate that. And down in the comments, let us know what you think. We've been talking about the duck numbers and different things like that. We'd love to hear any of your comments, any of your feedback. There's always a lot of
well, even your opinion, your viewpoint on
exactly.
it, insight you may have. We're not biologists. We read this stuff. We enjoy reading up on it. We enjoy following the people that do know what they're talking about and trying to share that, trying to bring it to real life, everyday stuff that we can interpret. And I mean, that's the fun part of it.
Yeah, and hearing the differing opinions, we welcome that, enjoy it. Hate to see comments out there where different people comment or getting called idiots for their different thing. We don't mind if you call me or Dusty an idiot because we already know that.
Pretty much, we are.
But hopefully see some good, respectful comments on there. I'd like to hear everyone's take on what's happening and fill us in on what's going on in your area. We're looking at it from an Arkansas perspective primarily. Love to hear what you're seeing, what you think's going on in your area. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you next time.